Hey guys, I'm Andre Manguba. I am a college student from College of St. Benilde and I'm taking Multimedia Arts. And I'm also a freelance artist and an illustrator. Some of you may know me as Andre_art on Instagram or on Twitter. So for this video, I'm gonna explain to you how I do food art, one of my art styles other than traditional and digital. But I'm gonna show you like a quick run through of how I started and what I do in my process, and how I continue to create new ideas for food art. So how did I get into food art? I was in high school, third year, I think, and I was assigned for an OJT to work for a pasta company, and it was my task to handle their social media account. So basically, my job was to boost their social media presence, and at the time it was perfect kasi what I usually do like on social media is post my art. So I thought of a way to merge that and also the products of the company I was working with, and basically that's how food art was born. So it started with the OJT, and then when we first posted the first batch of art online, specifically on Facebook, fortunately, like it was taken by the netizens really well. A lot of people loved it, and for me, like it was almost like a turning point into like an art style that I didn't know that time would be one of my main art styles. And ever since I posted that, I just continued to make more, even after I worked for that company, because I just enjoyed doing it until I explored so many materials or food, and even opened doors for me to work with collaborations with many brands, both local and international. And I was featured in several TV shows and magazines and websites around the world. So yeah. As for my process, I'm just gonna give you a quick run through, starting with my materials. I have them here. So I have obviously the plate that I use, and I also use this sauce, this ketchup. That's like my most basic, like a default material for my food art, and of course the pasta. That's important. That's what I use for like hair and other elements that I want to put around the food art. And for application of the sauce, I use barbecue sticks. And I even I remember the first time I was experimenting on it with my OJT work. I didn't know like the right tools to use, so I had to experiment with a lot. I even tried using a paintbrush to apply, but it didn't work. I went with these, and they work perfectly naman. Okay, so my process for food art is basically divided into 3 parts. That's research, the sketch, and the application of materials. So for research, I always make sure that the reference photo I'm using has the right balance of the light and dark. I usually transform it into like a pop art type of filter, so that in that way I can distinguish the light and dark easier, which would be easier for the next process, which is the sketching. For me, this is the most crucial part, obviously, because that's where you map out where to put the ketchup and your other elements like the pasta. For me, it's really important to make sure that the plate is clean when you're sketching it, so that when you apply the ketchup and your other materials, it won't look messy and it would still look appetizing. So the third one is when you apply ketchup or sauce or any material that you are using. For me, it's usually ketchup or syrup, but that varies depending on what I'm working on, like with the theme I'm going for. And lastly, after the ketchup, I work on the spaghetti noodles, cooked, of course. For me, this is the part where you have to be most patient, because I apply the pasta individually. So you really have to have steady hands and the patience to work on it properly. And it would actually pay off because at the end, once you see the overall look and it's clean, yeah, it looks appetizing, and that's the goal for me when I make food art. Is not to make it look like a painting. It's supposed to look like food, but with an image in it. So yeah. And I also forgot to mention, I also use cotton buds or tissue. That's for wiping the sides of the sauce that I'm working with. Just to add that extra sharpness when you want to make your features more defined. Yeah, and it adds a little more oomph to your artwork. The first batch of artworks that I made with food is Catherine Bernardo, Danielle Padilla, and Aldo. And I also did this food art of Liza Soberano, and I even met her and gave her the actual artwork, so that was cool. And I also worked on food art for 20th Century Fox. It was for Ice Age, where I had to make food artworks for their characters, and it was the first time that I didn't draw people's faces but cartoon characters, and it was actually fun. It was a new experience for me. And I also did this food art for NBC Sports last year. I was using dessert naman for this one. To be honest, I was pretty pressured and scared because it was, again, the first time I was working with those types of materials. But I like a challenge, and I always want to see how I'm gonna make it work, and just the overall experience excites me. So yeah. Oh, and I also did this huge food art. It was the biggest food art I've made ever, so far, and it was for History Convention, also last year, and it was made with spaghetti and ketchup and other types of pasta. So it was like a full circle moment for me, because years ago I was still figuring what to do with these materials and how to make it work. But during that experience, I used those same materials and made like a big food art out of it. And for me, it felt like I was paying homage to the first food art that I made, which was made with spaghetti, and it was fulfilling. So challenges that I encountered, well, knowing me as an artist, I get distracted easily when I'm working on something. Like, it may be traditional or digital, especially with food art. I'm working with food, and you can't help sometimes to take a bite, and I don't know, I'm just that hungry, and I get demotivated sometimes, or I get burnt out, working for many hours, and you just don't want to work on something new the next day, and that's normal. I have this struggle also where I lack with new ideas, because I have this urge to produce something new every now and then, and I get frustrated when I don't have anything new to offer to my audience, because I have this feeling that they will get bored, or I don't know. But I've learned that it's not a healthy way to push yourself. When you force something out of your mind or your creative juice, it's usually not gonna work, because you're not inspired, and it was forced. And what I do to overcome it is I take a rest. When I get distracted, or when I get demotivated, or when I don't have any new idea in mind, I rest and see or scroll through my Instagram feed and see what I've created in the past. And most of the time I get motivated, because after seeing how much work I've made and how much people were inspired by it, I just get excited to create more, and I have this excitement and hype in me that, okay, so you've done this. I feel like, or I know that you can make something better, but you don't have to force it. Like when the right time comes, that's when I create. So funny experiences, I've had a lot, especially in relation to food art. It was for ABS-CBN, and basically they wanted me to prepare my materials, like because I'll be doing like a live demo of my food art. They called me like the super last minute. They asked me if I could make food art for Catherine Bernardo, because aside from meeting her, they want me to present my food art to her, like a finished one. So that was, I think, 10 p.m. and the call time was 8 a.m. the next day. So usually when I create food art, it doesn't last so long. Like it usually gets, I don't know, distorted, or it gets rotten really quick, especially the pasta. But yeah, I told myself this is a once in a lifetime opportunity, so you know what, just do it. Like it's not gonna hurt you so much. And you know, this experience of like meeting Catherine Bernardo and like showing her your artwork, it's something priceless. And there were also a lot of food art mishaps, like when I was making a commission for NBC Sports. They basically wanted me to create a food art based on their specific instructions. Like they gave me a specific dessert and transform it into one of their players, into three of their players, and one of them was using a banana split. I had to experiment a lot, and I had to learn the material before actually making it. Here's a photo of like what it looked like during my trial versions. It took me, I think, 2 or 3 trials before I actually was able to pull it off and create something I could present properly. These experiences may have been, you know, funny or frustrating at the time, but in retrospect, I actually learned a lot from these experiences. Like, I treated them as an opportunity to learn instead of a failure. I learned something new with these experiences, and I powered through them. And for me as an artist, it is something that I can't experience when, you know, something goes smoothly. Like I'll always have to experience these setbacks for me to take note of the improvements that I have to make. I treat it as an opportunity to grow as an artist and learn from the process. Overall, my reminders for aspiring artists out there, or to you who are watching who want to try out something new, is to just explore as many avenues as you can, and then, you know, see what you feel is for you. Nothing is really original nowadays. So what I do is I get inspired by a lot of my influences, like online, on Instagram, like Instagram artists, or on Twitter. I get different elements from their art and I try to mash them together and then just add my personal flair. And also, it's okay to feel frustrated on your first time, because obviously you're just gonna improve from that point on. For every artwork that I make, I'm just gonna keep improving as long as I'm willing to embrace the full experience, like maybe good or bad, because I'm gonna keep them in mind and learn from them. That's one of my main takeaways from discovering food art, that you just keep on improving from the time you try until you perfect your craft. Alright guys, so that's it for the day, and I hope you enjoyed this little art talk we had, and I'll see you on the next one.